Okay, now we're going to start reviewing Part 4 for Mastery Test 2. Part 4 for Mastery Test 2 is applying divisibility rules for the numbers 2, 3, 5, and 10. So to start with here, we're going to look at the divisibility rule for 10. Okay, the divisibility rule for 10 is very simple. The last digit of the number is a 0. Okay, so if the last digit of the number is a 0, it is divisible by 10. So what I'm going to do for A through I here is look to see which ones have the last number, that the last number is a 0. And then I'm going to divide them by 10. So if I look at A, well, I've got 105. You know, the last digit is 5. It's not 0. So A is not going to work for 10. I look at B, I have 700. Well, the last digit is a 0, so B will work. Now I'm just going to take 700 divided by 10, and when I take 700 divided by 10, you can use your calculator here if you need to. $700 divided by 10 is going to be 70. Again, when you divide by 10, you're just dropping off the last 0. Okay, go ahead and look at the rest of these, C through I. I will tell you that there are 3 more in here that are divisible by 10. So you can go ahead and pause the video to do this part, and then when you're done, go ahead and start the video again and go on to the next part of this divisibility rule. Okay, the next part of the divisibility rules that we're going to look at are if we can divide by 5 or not. And again, it's pretty easy to decide if you can divide by 5. The last digit of the number is a 5 or a 0. Okay, so if I look at A, I have 400. And I see that the last digit is a 0. So I know that A is going to work. So I can take 400 divided by 5 and get my answer. Again, you can just do this on your calculator if you would like. Okay, 400 divided by 5, and you'll get your answer of 80. So 80 is the answer for A. I look at B, 67. It does not end in a 0 or 5, so I don't worry about B. I look at C, it ends in a 2. Doesn't end in a 0 or a 5, so I know I can't divide by 5. Okay, then I look at D, 285. Well, it ends in a 5, so I know I can divide this one by 5. So 285 divided by 5. Go to my calculator and check this one out, and I get 57. So my answer for D is 57. All right, go ahead and do the rest of these for divisible by 5. I will tell you that there are 3 more of them that are divisible by 5. So go ahead, pause the video, and complete this section of the review for Part 4. Okay, next we're going to look at the divisibility rules for 2. And again, that's very simple. You just look at the last digit, and if the last digit is even, your number is divisible by 2. So remember, those last digits would have to be 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Okay, so when I look at A, 41, 1 is not an even number, so I'm not going to do 41. I look at B, it ends in a 2. Okay, so that one's going to work because 2 is an even number. So if we do 32 divided by 2, again, you can punch that in if you would like and get your 16 for your answer. Okay, move on to C. Well, 15, that's an odd number. 5 is not even, so that's not going to work for 2. But D, 138, the last digit is an 8. That's an even number. So I can divide that by 2. So 138 divided by 2 gives you 69. So your answer for D is 69. Okay, go ahead and finish the rest of those. There are 2 more that are divisible by 2 in that one. So pause the video, go ahead and finish those. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at here is just, again, the fast way to divide by 10, or to see if a fraction can be simplified by dividing by 10. Remember, if both the numerator and denominator end in 0, you can just cross out the 0. So 250 and 500, they both end in 0. I just crossed out the zeros. Okay, that gives me 25 over 50. Now I can keep simplifying this, so I need to look and see, what's the next number that will work. I could try 10 again, but 25 does not end in 0, so 10 wouldn't work. But 25 ends in 5 and 50 ends in 0, and I know that if a number ends in 5 or 0, I can divide by 5. So if I divide both of these by 5, 25 divided by 5 is 5, 50 divided by 5 is 10. Okay, and now I can check 5 again to see if I can simplify this further. Well, 5 ends in 5 and 10 ends in 0, so they can both be divided by 5 again. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, 5 is not going to work again, and I cannot use 2 because 1 is not an even number, so 1/2 is as far as we can take this. Okay, go ahead and simplify B, C, and D. Then pause the video here before going on to the next section of the review for part 4. All right, the last thing we are going to look at in part 4 is the divisibility rule for 3. Again, for a number to be divisible by 3, you add up the digits. Okay, so if I look at the examples here, like for 126, if I take 1 plus 2 plus 6, add up those digits, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 6 is 9. And I have to decide, well, does 3 go into 9? Yes, it does. So 126 would be divisible by 9, or by 3, excuse me. 327. Okay, again, if you take 3 plus 2 plus 7, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 is divisible by 3, so that means 327 would be divisible by 3. Okay, if we look at 524, if I take 5 plus 2 plus 4, 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 4 is 11. Well, 3 does not go into 11 evenly, so 524 does not work. Okay, the 126 and the 327 do. So when I look at A here, first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, what's 6 plus 0 plus 2? 6 plus 0 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Well, does 3 go into 8? No, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to do that one. B, I've got 111, so 1 plus 1 plus 1. Well, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3, and 3 goes into 3. So then I do 111 divided by 3. You can go to your calculator here and do 111 divided by 3, and you'll get 37. So there's our answer for that. Okay, go ahead and try C and D. Okay, and then once you have part 4 completed, you can go ahead and get that checked. And then when they're all correct, you can go ahead and move on to another part.